So, with the Commander Pro review out of the way, it's time to move on to the other combo Thermaltake sent me, which is the Challenger Elite RGB, which is their flagship mouse and keyboard combo. So let's see how it stacks up to the competition, shall we? This combo was priced at a staggering 159 Aussie dollars, but isn't available in the US, so let's start with the tour so you can decide whether it's worth your money. On the left hand side are two well positioned side buttons, but are incredibly weak, offering little to no resistance and are really just unsatisfying to press. There is absolutely no grip or texturing here, so my thumb did slide up when holding the mouse, especially if it was sweaty. On the right hand side is also nothing but smooth plastic, which again isn't ideal for trying to keep a constant grip without sliding. Out the front is a 1.8 meter black plastic coated cable which terminates into a distinguishable TT Esports USB 2.0 connector, allowing the mouse to connect at up to 1000Hz polling rate. On top are two solid left and right click buttons, which are concave for your fingers to sit better, and are fitted with gaming grade switches rated for 20 million clicks. The scroll wheel is coated with soft rubber and has OK-ish step definition but good actuation resistance. There is a single DPI switch located behind that can change between the 4 levels of DPI you can set in the software, or a preset to according to the product page at 400, which is represented by red, 800, which is yellow, 1600, which is green, and 3200, which is blue. The funny thing about those DPI levels though is that in the software they are in increments of 250, starting at 250, so you can't actually have any of those DPI levels specified on the website, as you cannot manually type in a specific DPI. On the palm area is the TT Esports logo, which is one of 3 lighting areas that are linked together, but are customizable in software I will talk about a bit later. The other 2 lighting zones are around the body of the mouse and in and around the scroll wheel and DPI selector. Speaking of lighting effects, the mouse can have a single static colour, pulse, wave, spectrum running, snake marquee, reactive, which flashes every time you press a mouse button, or blink, with directional and speed controls for those effects that would utilise it. Strangely, there is no off effect except for selecting the colour black, which even then the red of the sensor shines through some parts of the mouse body. The lighting is nice, vibrant and fairly consistent all the way around, but one quirk is there is no actual multicolour button. Instead, you have to select reset in the software to get more than a single colour. Underneath the mouse are 4 medium-sized plastic feet, which do alright at helping the mouse glide, but they really should be Teflon at this price point. The sensor is a PMW 3050, which is a respectable budget sensor, but I was kinda hoping for a bit more to justify the price tag. The mouse body is symmetrical, meaning it can technically accommodate left and right-handed users, which is always nice to see. Build quality is great, despite the majority of it being made out of plastic. There is incredibly little flex or distortion when manipulating the mouse body. Size-wise, the mouse is 120mm long, 70mm wide, and 36mm high, making it suited for a medium to large-handed user. Weight-wise, the mouse is 88 grams, which is fairly average, not incredibly light, but not chunky either. Moving on to the keyboard now, which is a full-size board with 104 keys, including the home and numpad area, with 19 key anti-ghosting, which is actually less than the 24 key rating on the Commander Pro combo, which is kinda weird. Also, strangely, unlike the Commander's keyboard, there isn't dedicated media buttons above the function keys, which is a strange thing to remove from a product in a higher price bracket. Speaking of the F keys, when coupled with the function key located on the right of the spacebar, F1 through to 4 has quick launch options, F5 through to 12 has lighting control options, and on the number keys, 7 through to the plus symbol are macro recording settings. The W, A, S and D keys can be swapped with the arrow keys, which I still can't work out why you would want to do it, but it's there anyway. Also, the home, print screen and up and down arrows also have some alternative functions tied to them as well. These keycaps are again these strange not quite low profile but not full size style, but have little to no wobble and a nice clear legible font that is somewhat translucent to allow light to shine through the lettering. Under the keycaps are rubber dome switches, also known as membrane switches, which I feel you're sort of pushing it trying to sell a membrane keyboard at this price point, but that's just my opinion. Here is the typing test. For lighting itself, the effects include static, pulse, wave, spectrum running, stack, off, or you can customize the board, which is split into 6 zones, and again, directional and speed control options exist for those effects that would utilize it. There is even a sync button, where you can sync up the mouse and keyboard if you are using an effect they both have programmed. The keyboard lighting covers the 16.8 million colour spectrum and is nice and fairly vibrant around the keycaps, but does a pretty poor job of shining through them, which is a bit of a shame. Thermaltake includes a fairly large plastic wrist rest that connects seamlessly to the front edge of the board with magnets, so no stuffing around getting little plastic clips to line up. The wrist rest itself isn't great quality, being a bit of hollow plastic with 2 large rubber pads on the bottom, but it's still an appreciated inclusion. Also, one thing to note about the wrist rest is when you pick the board up, the rest just falls off, which can be annoying if you forget to remove it first. If you choose not to use the wrist rest, this keyboard suffers the same as the Commander Pro, in that it's quite tall and you can cause wrist strain from prolonged use due to the height of the front lip, so definitely keep the rest attached. Underneath the keyboard is 2 flip-out plastic feet and 4 small hard textured rubber feet, which do a pretty poor job of holding the keyboard in place when accidentally bumped. The USB cable sticks out the top, is plastic coated and 1.8 meters in length, with a USB 2.0 connector at the end, allowing the keyboard to connect at a 1000Hz polling rate. Build quality is okay at best, with a fair amount of flex and a clicking noise coming from the top right of the board when manipulating it, but hopefully if you just use this as a keyboard as intended, this won't be an issue. Size-wise, the board is 450mm long, 230mm wide, and 40mm high, with the wrist rest attached and legs extended. Weight-wise, the board is just over a kilo, which is fairly average for a keyboard with a wrist rest. Now that's out of the way, it's time for the testing portion, and first up is lift-off distance, which is tested by slowly lowering the mouse towards the mouse mat until the sensor is picked up. Unfortunately, this is a fail, as the sensor was picked up too high for my liking, meaning when you place the mouse down, your cursor will not be in the spot you intended it to be, which will affect your aim. The next test is line prediction, which is done by trying to draw a straight line in paint and seeing if the sensor unnaturally straightens the line, trying to predict your movement. Unfortunately again, this is a fail, as line prediction is present with this sensor, which again can affect your aim if you need pixel perfection to hit a shot. The next test is sensor skipping, which is tested by drawing a continual spiral and checking for breaks within the image that the sensor may have skipped over. Thankfully, this one is a pass, as the spiral stayed continuous the entire time. Now, the final mouse-only test is acceleration, which is tested by rapidly dragging your mouse between 2 precise points in game and seeing if the sensor unnaturally speeds up or slows down your drag, making it hard to stop at either point. There is acceleration present, don't get me wrong, but it is very minimal, so I'm going to give this one a pass. My final test is a good gaming session of Modern Warfare, where I can test short, medium and long range aiming, keyboard responsiveness and also comfortability of the combo over an extended period of time.
He is out of fuel. Returning to flight.
The keyboard performed great, with all key presses being registered and the rest preventing any strain on the wrist, but the few issues with the mouse sensor did make it hard to line up shots over distance or quickly snap onto targets successfully, but you can build up muscle memory to compensate for these quirks, but I just don't like how unnatural it feels personally. Let's check out the software that is available for this combo, called the TT Esports Gaming Software 3.0, which has a fairly basic but understandable UI and only crashed on me once when I first installed it, which is better than some software I've used. You start off with the keyboard, with the first tab being lighting controls, where you can select your effect or some very basic customization of each of the 6 areas. The next tab is customization, where you can assign extra functionality to every key on the keyboard except the function key itself, but I could not actually get this to work, but I may just be dumb and not doing it right. The macro tab, of course, allows you to create, save or load macro profiles. Onto the mouse we have lighting controls, button customization for all 6 of the buttons, which unlike the keyboard actually works, DPI, where you can adjust your 4 DPI levels in increments of 250 all the way up to 4000, polling rate, pointer and scroll speed, and finally the macro tab, which is the same as the keyboards. In conclusion, I simply cannot recommend this combo due to the $159 price tag when the Corsair K55 Harpoon bundle is $30 cheaper, has a far superior mouse, a more refined keyboard and better software implementation. It would be a little crazy to pick this combo. For slightly more of an investment, you would be better off buying a separate mouse for $50 to $60 and investing the rest into a better keyboard, which will definitely last longer and be of a higher standard. If this combo was in the $99 to $120 price range, I feel it would be a lot more compelling and actually be a competitive offering in the market. But as it stands, I just cannot recommend the Challenger Elite combo, as unfortunately it isn't as premium as the price tag would lead you to believe. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, and if you really enjoyed it, please consider subscribing for more reviews and other content in the future. If you have a suggestion, question, or criticism, leave a comment. Thank you very much for watching.